The night was black as ink. City lights flickered through the curtain of rain like the farthest stars in the sky. Ethan drove home, wipers slapping hard against the downpour, drumming on the glass with a dull, steady beat. He gripped the wheel, eyes fixed and deep-set, as if nothing in the storm could slow him. Then a silhouette lurched into the beam of his headlights, a woman running, hair plastered to her cheeks, clutching a canvas to her chest as though it were a living thing. The wind clawed, her steps faltered, and in a heartbeat she went down, the canvas skidding across the asphalt, colors bleeding into the gutter. Ethan's foot stabbed the brake. The car stopped with a hiss of wet tires. He shoved the door open and ran, rain instantly soaking his shirt. He lifted her by the elbows until she stood swaying, their eyes locked, rain streaming between them like glass. "You okay?" His voice was low, urgent, already shrugging out of his jacket to shelter her. She lifted a tear-bright gaze. "I'm fine, but my painting." Only then did he see the stained fragments at their feet, vivid hues dissolving into gray runoff. A wave of guilt rose in him, sharp and unexpected, as if he himself had torn the images apart. "I'm sorry," he said. "I'll make it right, whatever it costs." She hesitated, then shook her head. "You can't. It isn't about money." The words stung harder than the rain. "Still, let me take responsibility. Come to Caldwell tomorrow. We'll figure something out." She studied his face through the watery curtain, finally gave a small nod. Together they stepped into the night, two strangers crossing into unknown territory. Caldwell, headquarters occupying its own mirrored Caldwell downtown, shimmered the next evening, all marble and indirect light. Luna followed Ethan off the private elevator, feeling the hush of money press against her eardrums. He led her past reception into a corner office where the city lay spread like circuitry below. "Sit. You're shivering." He filled a porcelain cup from an electric kettle, the bergamot scent of Earl Grey curling between them. "Drink. Warm up." She cupped the tea, steam brushing her lashes, tension easing, until he slid a check across the walnut desk for the ruined canvas. The heat in her hands turned cold. "I told you, it's not for sale, not even for apology money." Ethan drew back as if the paper had burned him. "I didn't mean to offend you. Then look." She pulled a second canvas from her tote, still damp at the edges, and shook it open. An after-storm rainbow arced across the linen, colors so bright the office bulbs seemed dull beside them. "Tell me what you see. That's the price of forgiveness." He leaned in, elbows on the desk, eyes roaming the spectrum. Something behind his sternum loosened. "I see fresh air after a boardroom war. I see a promise the city forgets to make." He paused. "I see why you ran in the rain to save it." The painting trembled slightly in her grip. "Then don't pay me. Just remember it." Minutes stretched, became an hour. They spoke of art, of auction house sharks, of the loneliness that lives in corner offices and walk-up studios alike. Ethan admitted the empire had cost him every birthday he could remember. Luna confessed she painted rainbows because her mother swore storms carried promises. When midnight chimed from the grandfather clock, neither moved to leave. The next weeks rewrote Ethan's calendar. He toured her through Caldwell's vacant floors until they found a sunlit nook that smelled of sawdust and possibility. He called it the Loft Studio, signed the internal requisition before legal could object. Luna replaced the lock herself, hung canvas the color of first light, and painted until the janitor's keys jingled. Sometimes Ethan slipped away from investor calls, stood outside the Loft Studio's glass wall, suit jacket over his shoulder, watching her coax wings from layered blues. He never interrupted, but each time he left a white envelope on the threshold, never money. Only a phrase he'd scribbled on Caldwell letterhead. "Show me the next storm." She began pinning the notes above her stretching table until the wall looked like a sky of paper clouds. One evening she found him at the conference table, forehead against the cold glass, Manhattan glittering below like broken crystal. Shareholders had carved another pound of flesh. The stock price bled on every screen. Without a word, she uncapped a marker, drew a small rainbow on the window's condensation. It lasted only seconds before gravity blurred it, but he breathed easier. Months later the Caldwell Luna Gala filled the atrium. Camera flash pulsed like synchronized lightning while patrons toasted the impossible marriage of oil paint and venture capital. That night Ethan led Luna to the rooftop garden where the after-storm rainbow arced above the Hudson. He produced 2 rings, plain platinum, no logos. "I can't buy your art," he said, "but I can give you a lifetime canvas." He slipped the band on her paint-flecked finger. She answered by sliding its twin past the cuff of his tailored shirt. Below, reporters shouted questions about guest lists and stock futures. Up on the roof, wind whipped her wedding gown like a sail, and she kissed him while paint still clung to her hair. Proof that love, like color, sometimes needs a little water to spread. As the weeks slid by their synergy turned telepathic. Together they dreamed up After Storm Rainbow, A museum scale show that yanked A-list critics, collectors, and hedge fund kingpins into the same room. Luna's canvases, storm-stained acrylics that looked like heartbeats under X-ray, stopped people mid-sip of complimentary Earl Grey. Every camera flash felt like a coronation, and Caldwell's stock price ticked up 3 points on the rumor that the heir had finally grown a soul. But the higher the praise, the heavier the hush that followed them home. Ethan still carried Serena's laugh in his pocket like a cracked photo. Luna heard it rattling whenever he thought she wasn't listening. One night, while they debated wall text in the loft studio, Luna realized the ache in her chest had a name she couldn't say out loud. She told herself love declared is love betrayed, then went on mixing paint until sunrise. Ethan felt the shift like a barometer drop. Guilt became a second skin. He started canceling walkthroughs, inventing board meetings, leaving her side of the text thread blue and unanswered. Luna refused the silence. She left sticky notes on his windshield, little cobalt squares that read, "Your story isn't finished," and "Rainbows need rain." The storm broke on a Tuesday. A mutual friend whispered that Serena had checked into Mount Sinai with stage 4 aplastic anemia, the kind that turns blood into ghost ships. All those years of polite distancing had been scaffolding. She had wanted to spare him the front row seat to her ending. Ethan's world detonated. He sprinted out of Caldwell's shedding suit jacket and Rolex like useless armor. In the ICU, he found Serena propped against sterile pillows. Her smile still the same one that had beaten him at hopscotch 25 summers ago. She joked that the bruises matched the lavender walls, then pressed her papery fingers to his lips before he could promise a cure. "Go make thunder," she said. "Just not here." Luna, standing unseen outside the doorway, heard the whole brittle lullaby. 2 nights later Serena slipped away under a morphine hush. Ethan walked the corridors until security kicked him out at dawn. He left the hospital with her tortoiseshell hairpin in his fist and the conviction that grief should be useful or not at all. The funeral was small, wind whipping the black umbrellas sideways. Luna kept to the rear row, letting the rain mix with tears so no one could inventory her heart. When Ethan finally looked up, she was gone, but her note fluttered from his coat pocket. "When you're ready, paint the sky again." 3 weeks of radio silence. Then Ethan showed up at the loft studio with coffee, humility, and a roll of butcher paper big enough to blueprint a future. He told Luna everything: the postponed proposals, the guilt subscription, the moment in the hospital when Serena made him swear to live out loud. "I can't swap one heart for another," he said, "but I can offer you the piece that's still beating. It's cracked, but it's yours." Luna answered by dragging the tallest canvas off the wall and flipping it to the blank side. She painted 2 wings, storm gray, edged in gold, while he held her brushes like a page-turner at a piano. When the last stroke dried, they titled the piece Wings and decided it would seed their next chapter together. Ethan proposed a solo show devoted solely to her new series. Luna's first reaction was stage fright so acute she dropped a jar of ultramarine on her sneakers. He calmed her the way he negotiated hostile takeovers, spreadsheets of potential collectors, a media rollout calendar, a contingency for every brushstroke. They turned the planning sessions into midnight picnics, takeout dumplings, illegal champagne, laughing until the security guards knocked. Opening night arrived wrapped in December fog. Ethan wore charcoal wool so sharp it could slice bread. Luna floated in steel blue silk that caught the spotlights like fish scales. Side by side they greeted board members, art blog sharks, and the mayor's cultural attaché. Camera flashes popped like popcorn, and every interview looped back to the same soundbite: vision plus capital equals oxygen for artists. Caldwell's stock nudged up another 2 points. Inside the Caldwell's soaring atrium, sunlight knifed through skylights and splintered across canvases of bruised clouds and hidden suns. Visitors murmured that the work felt like forgiveness rendered in oil. Luna overheard a 13-year-old girl tell her mother, "I didn't know sadness could be this pretty." Something inside her unclenched for the first time since art school. Ethan slipped beside her, voice low. "You just rebooted a lot of hard drives," she answered without turning, eyes still on the teenager. "No, we did. They did the requisite press conference under the museum's LED halo." Questions lobbed like tennis serves, market versus muse, brand synergy. Luna replied with metaphors. Ethan translated into quarterly projections. The rhythm felt choreographed, inevitable. When a reporter asked if love fueled the enterprise, Ethan grinned and said, "Check the color palette." After the cue, the crowd drifted toward the open bar. Luna and Ethan stayed behind, walking the echoing halls like curators of their own origin story. She paused before the lake piece of turquoise mirror, clouds swimming like koi. He brushed a knuckle against her wrist. The first deliberate deliberate skin contact since Serena's farewell. It rained the day you almost crashed your Vespa into my umbrella, he said. She chuckled. You were wearing that stupid bespoke suit. I thought you were a stock photo. They decided to leave the memory where it belonged, inside the frame, and went back to the loft studio to prepare the next shipment of dreams. Midnight found them elbow-deep in bubble wrap. Spotify on low. City lights glinting off the Hudson like spilled rhinestones. Ethan's phone erupted with the Darth Vader ringtone he used for Caldwell crisis alerts. Luna watched the blood drain from his face as he listened. Hostile op-ed in the journal, he muttered. Stock price frozen after hours. Board wants my head on a charger. He was already reaching for his coat when she blocked the door. Go, she said, but remember the wings are dry. You can still fly. He kissed her forehead, equal parts promise and apology, then disappeared into the elevator's brass cage. Luna turned the music off, stared at the half-packed crates, and realized the canvas of their life together had just been stretched a little tighter, ready for the next layer of paint. Ethan ended the call, looked at Luna, and let apology fill his eyes. Luna, I have to go handle something. I'll be back as soon as I can. Luna nodded, a quiet ache blooming inside, yet she understood the weight he carried. Go, Ethan. I'll wait right here. He held her gaze a second longer, then strode out of the loft studio. She watched the door swing shut, a strange unease rising like tidewater. She had no inkling that this departure would shift everything between them. Back at Caldwell, Ethan dove straight into the firefight of the day. He had to defuse the crisis fast, shield the firm's name and the stock price. Work swallowed whole hours. The clock hands blurred. Still, whenever the building went hush, Luna's face floated up in the dark behind his eyelids. He missed her grin, the warmth of her palm against his. Every ordinary second they'd stitched together, somewhere between red-eye spreadsheets and dawn conference calls. He'd realized she had become the part of his life he couldn't unplug. 3 days later the numbers finally stopped hemorrhaging. Ethan drove straight to the loft studio, lungs buzzing with the need to tell her they were safe. He pushed through the door, and froze. Luna stood beside a tall man in a tailored suit who was drinking in her every word. The stranger invited her to headline an international show, an opportunity artists killed for. Jealousy spiked through Ethan like a fever. He crossed the room, planted himself at Luna's side, and said, voice iron calm, Luna, I'm back. Her eyes lit. Ethan, this is my partner. Ethan, she told the visitor. The man offered a courteous handshake. Ethan stared, hands pocketed, eyes flicking warnings. The air turned metallic. Luna tried to smooth the moment, but Ethan only grew stonier. Nobody was allowed this close to her, not on his watch. At last the stranger retreated, footsteps echoing down the corridor until the door clicked shut. Luna turned to him, bewildered. Ethan, what was that? He drew a slow breath. Luna, I'm in love with you. Her pulse stuttered. The room tilted. Ethan, she whispered, I love you too. A camera flash shattered the hush. A reporter barged into Caldwell, shutter snapping like a string of firecrackers. Ethan, Luna, are you two dating? Color drained from Luna's cheeks. Ethan stepped between her and the lens. Our private life is off limits. The reporter persisted. Does Caldwell know? What's the board's position on your relationship? Ethan's jaw clenched. My personal choices don't affect the stock ticker, and I expect you to respect that. Security muscled the reporter out, but within hours the story detonated across every screen in Riverdale. Headlines screamed, pundits guessed, memes multiplied. Caldwell's elders called an emergency video conference, warning Ethan that speculation alone had shaved points off the share price. Fix it, they ordered, or step aside. Pressure clamped around his ribs. He refused to let Luna pay the price, yet he couldn't walk away from the century his family had poured into Caldwell. He hunted for a path that let him keep both. Luna felt the heat too. She began to wonder if a temporary exit might give him room to maneuver, but terror whispered that distance could cool what they just confessed. She stayed awake sketching, erasing, tearing pages, weighing disappearance against devotion. Near midnight they finally spoke, knees touching on the battered sofa. Ethan laced his fingers through hers. I don't want to lose you, but I need a little time to untangle this. Tears shimmered on her lashes. Take whatever you need. I'm not going anywhere. I'm on your side, always. He pulled her close, cheek against her hair, moonlight striping the floorboards like quiet applause. Morning brought another summons. Fluorescent Caldwell lights felt like interrogation lamps. Ethan's uncle, the family patriarch, tapped a thick folder. You know what keeps this firm alive? Stability. Reputation. Your little romance is trimming our market cap by the hour. Ethan's hands balled under the walnut table. I'm aware of the numbers, but what Luna and I have is real, not some midlife fling. The old man snorted. Real. In our world, emotion foundation is a line item with zero value. Your job is to protect the shareholders, not chase a rainbow. Defiance surged, yet Ethan bit it back. Open war would burn the very bridge he needed intact. When the room emptied, he took the elevator down, heart-hammering one name, Luna. He found her at the loft studio, studying a fresh canvas that bled color like sunrise. He touched her shoulder. "We have to talk." She turned, brush still dripping cadmium red. "Whatever you decide, I'm with you." A warm current rushed through Ethan's chest. He knew that having Luna for a partner was the greatest luck of his life. He squeezed her hand gently and murmured, "Luna, I will never make you give up your art. We're going to find a way that lets us have both." Tears glimmered in Luna's eyes. Softly she answered, "Ethan, I'd do anything for you, even walk away from my canvases." Ethan shook his head, his gaze steady and deep. "No, Luna, your art is your life. I can't take that from you. We'll find a path that guards Caldwell's interests and still keeps us together." A few days later, the two of them walked into a press conference side by side. In front of the cameras, they confirmed their relationship and revealed that they were founding a new organization called Caldwell Luna, devoted to supporting and advancing the arts. Their announcement hit public opinion like a stone dropped in still water, sending out ring after ring of ripples. Caldwell Luna's launch earned applause far beyond Riverdale and drew the couple even closer. Together they began mapping out every detail of the future, each plan glowing with tomorrow's promise. Luna was preparing pieces for the foundation's debut show. Her brush swept across the canvas, every stroke charged with emotion and life. She was working on a painting called Wings. Two vast wings unfurling as if they might lift every dream straight into the sky. He spoke softly. "Luna, our foundation's opening is almost here. I want to unveil Wings as our emblem at the ceremony." A flash of delight crossed Luna's face. For a moment she felt dizzy. She stared at Ethan, shock and joy mingling in her eyes. "Ethan, really, I'm overwhelmed." Ethan smiled and nodded, his look both resolute and tender. "Of course it's real. Your art is the soul of Caldwell Luna and the heart of our shared dream." Gratitude and love flooded Luna. She knew that having Ethan beside her was the greatest fortune she would ever know. One sun-splashed afternoon a month later, the inaugural ceremony took place. Ethan and Luna stood in the newly renovated Caldwell, facing a towering reproduction of Wings that now served as the foundation's symbol. Guests streamed in, painters, entrepreneurs, philanthropists, camera crews. They congratulated the couple and praised their vision and courage. In his address, Ethan said, "Today we launch Caldwell Luna not only to champion art, but to live the dream we share. We believe creativity can change the world. And through this foundation we want as many people as possible to feel its power." Luna spoke briefly, her voice alive with feeling. "Art is my life and my dream. Today, with Ethan, I get to pass that dream on." After the speeches, the visitors wandered through Caldwell, awarding Luna's first exhibition glowing reviews. Ethan and Luna stood to one side, watching the crowd absorb her work, their hearts full. As Caldwell Luna grew steadily, acceptance came from both the Caldwell family and the wider public. Newspapers and social feeds celebrated their love story, hailing them as a model of modern romance. Finally, after every test and trial, they decided to marry. Preparations moved at full speed. They chose a stretch of coast where the sea shimmered sapphire, the sand gleamed gold, and the sun always felt gentle. They wanted the event simple and warm, shared only with family and dearest friends. With the date approaching, Luna swung between nerves and excitement. Each day she tried on the wedding gown, selected jewelry, and fussed over every tiny detail. Ethan handled everything else, venue decor, menu, music, aiming for flawless. On the eve of the wedding, Luna stood before a tall mirror in the white gown they had chosen together. Clean-lined, elegant, the perfect frame for her quiet grace. She gazed at her reflection, breathless. It was truly happening. She would become Ethan's wife. Ethan stepped into the room, stopped short, awe flickering in his eyes. He moved behind her and closed his hands over hers. "Luna, you're radiant." Luna turned, love shining in her look. "Ethan, tomorrow I'll walk toward you as your wife." He tightened his grip, voice steady and fierce. "Luna, whatever comes, I'll stand beside you, protect you, cherish you." The morning of the ceremony broke bright, sea breeze light against the shore. Luna waited at the edge of the sand, her hand in her father's, heart racing with expectation yet buoyed by joy. Ahead, Ethan stood in a black suit, tall and striking. When the music rose, Luna moved toward him, each step deliberate, confident. She knew she was walking into her future, into happiness. Watching her approach, Ethan felt love and gratitude surge. He understood that loneliness was over, that every challenge ahead would be faced together. The rites were brief and tender. Before family and friends, they vowed a lifetime. Their story brought tears and smiles to every guest. Their joy spread like sunlight. At the end, they walked hand in hand along the waterline. line, footprints marking the sand in a trail of promises. They knew this was only the first chapter, that countless bright days waited to be lived.